Something tells me that this video is going to be very, very long, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to do this video, even though I know I'm going to be here for an eternity. My voice is going to hurt afterwards, but we are doing it. This is every single eyeshadow pan I hit in the year of 2024. So I've had a bit of a rocky year with project panning. I've done a few videos talking about it in the past, what went wrong, why it went wrong, all that kind of stuff. But I am very happy to say that even though the end of the year, we don't really want to talk about her, we've hit 39 eyeshadow pans this year. You know what? I don't think that's that bad. It's not awful. It's not amazing, but it's not awful. But just before we do jump into the video, if you have not already, definitely like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I love bright, fun, colourful makeup. This is a get ready with me. Don't know when it's going to go live. Don't know if it's live already. I don't know. Have a look on my channel, but I'm talking about Christmas and how Christmas is going to be a little bit different for me this year. Right, I'm going to jump into it. I do pan those eyeshadows, pan that palette in order. I think that is what most of these things are going to be from, but some of them might be just organic use as well. So, the first eyeshadow that I hit in 2024, this was hit on the 8th of January, and it is from my beloved Book of Magic. So this has been in the running to be Pan That Palette for 2 years on the run now. It has not been picked 2 years on the run, but I am still making really good progress on this, even though I'm not using it as Pan That Palette. So this shade was the shade Vanish, which shade is that? This shade, it is the lid setting shade up here. Hopefully you can see that pan there. Lid setting shades are so easy for me to use. I just set my lid every single day. I love setting my lid. It just makes eyeshadows a little bit less patchy for me. It makes them glide on a little bit easier. And it also helps blending out eyeshadow. When you go a little bit too close to your brow bone and you're like, oh, that's a lot. Use one of these shades, just dust it on top and it'll fade it out for you really, really beautifully. I really like this shade. It is a yellow undertone. I do have a yellow undertone, so match made in heaven there. This is probably one of the easiest shades to use and hopefully in the future use up completely. But yeah, the first pan of 2024 in my beloved Book of Magic. The second pan that I hit was actually from my Pan That palette. Now, I started the year with the Sofx Revolution as my Pan That palette, and this did not end well. I ended up getting rid of this palette about 3 months into the year because I just realised it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. This was originally a palette that I panned a few years ago and I thought, you know what, I'm going to revisit it and I'm going to get it done. But I did not. So I did end up depotting all the shades into little single eyeshadow pans. Now I actually don't have this shade with me. This was the shade Pug. I'll try and pop up a picture on screen of what it looked like, but the reason I don't have it with me is because I actually emptied this shade. This was a really beautiful cool tone taupe shade, which is so up my street. I love cool tone taupe so much. I was not surprised to learn that I would finish that up. That sentence was so difficult to get out of my mouth. Do you ever have those sentences where you're like fighting to say words? This reminded me very much of Warm Taupe, which was in my Modern Renaissance, and I flew through that shade as well. So I am not surprised that Pug was my second pan of 2024. And I hit pan on that also on the 8th of January. Next, the 15th of January, the third pan of 2024 comes from my SheGlam Chromazone palette, and this was this beautiful blue shade. The lid is falling. This kind of reminiscent of the vibe I've got on today. This is a blue to purple duochrome, and I was actually shocked when I learned how shallow these pans are. Yes, this is a very malleable formula. However, I did not think it would take that long to hit pan. I hit pan on this in like 3 uses. I think it was in a Pan Those Eyeshadows, or it might have even been organic use. I think it might have been organic use. I love it though. I've been too scared to reach for it again since, just because I don't want this to be used up. This palette again was in the running for Pan That palette this year. It has lost out. I'm very excited to start my new Pan That palette journey in January, but this palette just lost out, but this shade was my third pan of 2024. Next, we go back to Book of Magic. This might as well have been Pan That Palette this year, to be honest, because the amount of pans in this is crazy. So the fourth shade was Moonlight, which is this silver shade here. You might struggle to see the pan in this just because my printer is going nuts. Someone's printed on my printer. Who is this? Sorry, I've got mail. I swear it's like a fax machine in here. Someone from the other office just printed on my printer. How dare they? So where was I? I was talking about this shade. You might not be able to see it because it is a very, very pale shimmery shade. This is probably one of my least liked shades in this palette just because the early BeautyBay shimmer formula was very like putty-like. It was very thick and dense, and it's just not my favorite thing. But I did use this as an inner corner. I kind of wanted to hit pan on it. I eventually want to hit pan on all of these shades, and I mean, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It is going to be so exciting. But yeah, this one, maybe not too much. And I hit pan on that on the 17th of January. So January, we're going strong. We are going strong. That does not continue throughout the rest of the year. I'm just going to tell you that now. Okay, next we have two shades from my Pan That palette in order, which is my Bella Pierre All Stars palette. So this palette, there's a lot of pans in here. I'm going to warn you now, if you're new to my channel, she's been used and abused. However, this is a project that is not going to continue into 2025, unfortunately. This is what the palette looks like. And the shades that I hit pan on was the shade number 8, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another lid setting shade. Very, very easy to hit pan on. Very, very easy to use. I really, really enjoy hitting pan on these shades. It's kind of like a gimme product. I think that's what they call it. So I hit pan on that on the 19th. And then on the 23rd, I hit pan on the shade number 5, which is this orange shade. So not quite in order, but don't tell anyone. I remember having real bad issues with this shade because it looks orange, but it has this really icy flip to it. So I couldn't really pair it with warm tones because of that iciness, but I couldn't really pair it with cool tones because it's an orange. It was very, very strange. I did, of course, end up hitting pan on it, and that was, again, the 23rd of January. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shades in January. We've got one more shade for January. I wish I'd have kept that up, but yeah, whoops. So the final shade for January was the 25th of January, and I do have it here. However, it does not have a pan on it anymore. This is the shade Cup of Tea from the Soph X Revolution palette, which again, like I said, was my Pan That palette this year. In quotation marks, kind of. However, this does not have a pan on it anymore, just because I did franken it with a shade that was pretty identical. I was doing a big singles organization video, and I realized that I had two shades that are pretty much the same. So I decided to just franken them together and make one shade. It cut out a single eyeshadow from my collection, and it made me a little bit less stressed. So yeah, no pan in it now. But maybe one day we'll have a pan on it again, and hopefully we'll even have it finished. This wasn't a hard shade to use. It's very, very easy, very, very user-friendly, very everyday, so I wasn't shocked that this had a pan on it so early on in the year. Next, we move on to another shade from the Soph X Revolution palette. It went so well at the start of the year. What went wrong? What went wrong? So the next shade that I'm going to talk about is this shade. This has been repressed. So again, the pan is not quite there anymore, but it did have a really big pan on it. You can kind of see that it is still very, very thin. There is technically a pan in here still, but this is the shade Nightmare, and I hit pan on this on the 12th of February. So a little bit of a jump in between those two. I love using black eyeshadows in my makeup looks. I think it adds so much depth and it's really, really nice. I really enjoy it. And yeah, I hopefully will have this done sometime soon. I really want to add a black single eyeshadow into my rolling project pan because I think it's gonna just like get a few out of my singles collection. I have about 3 or 4 black single eyeshadows So I just want to like get use on them, get them done, get them used and abused. And this would be an amazing one because there's really not much product left in here. It is repressed, but it's still very, very thin. And I'm really, really excited to continue with this. Hopefully in 2025, I can get this done. That was the next one. That was shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shade number 8. And we're only on February. Wow, I wish this could have kept going. Shade number 9 is a Pan Those eyeshadow shade. I remember this because I loved this shade so much. This is from actually the palette that I'm wearing today. This is the Christmas Eve palette from Odens, and this is the shade Blue Ice. Now, blue is my happy color. I always say this: blue eyeshadow, blue clothes, my background, everything like that. Blue is my happy color, and this is so shimmery and blinding. I love this shade so much, and when I hit pan on it, I genuinely thought like, oh no, I don't get to use it anymore. Of course, I've got so much of this shade left. Hitting pan means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But I love this shade. I love this palette. I've used this deepening shade today with the shade Nightfall. And then I've also put the shade Gorgeous all over the lid. It is so stunning. It is so beautiful. I'm in love. I love this palette. I've been wanting to reach for this palette all year, but I have a kind of mental block because it's the Christmas Eve palette. So I'm like, I can't use it in summer because it's the Christmas Eve palette, you know? But finally, I'm reunited. I love her. She loves me back. And this was the, 8th pan? I'm going to stop saying the number of pans because I have them all numbered wrong. I have them numbered as my 101 pans project. So technically this is shade 95. I'm not going to be counting down the whole list. Just know we hit 39 in total, and this is number 8. And I hit that on the 16th of February. Let's move on to the 21st of February, and we're going back to the Pierre All Stars palette. So this is the shade number 11, and I remember this because this was a shade that I used many, many years ago in a Halloween look, and I remember sitting down to do my makeup on the day that I had to update this project. I had no new pans, however, this had the biggest dip in it ever, so I kind of again went a little bit out of order and decided to use this in a look, and it only needed that one use to hit pan on it. So again, I'm cheating a little bit, but it's fine. It's fine. Again, I hit pan on that on the 21st of February, and I really did like that shade. It's a pink. I'm not a pink person. I'm not a big fan of pinks, but this was nice. I had to use it one time, so I literally can't complain there. This palette will be coming out a hell of a lot in this video, so hold your breath because this is coming back. Next is another shade from the Sofx Revolution palette, and it's another shade that, you know what? I think I can finish it in 2025. This is Pink Champagne, and I hope you can see this pan is huge. This is a really nice pinky inner corner shade. You can use it as a highlight. I think I did use it as a highlight quite a few times, and I hit pan on this on the 28th of February. I cannot believe the difference between the start of the year and the end of the year. If I'd have kept up this momentum, my whole eyeshadow palette collection would have pan on it by now. I'm so annoyed at myself, but we've been through this. I've beaten myself up enough about this. This is a really, really nice shade. I do enjoy it. Again, I'm not a pink person, but this is definitely more icy. You can kind of get away with it. It's not super pink, so I'm happy with it. I'm fine with it. I can use it as an inner corner, and you know what? I think this is going to be in my rolling project pan next year, or at least in my 100 products I want to pan, because look at the size of this pan. It is not very thick in the pan either. It's very, very thin. I think we can do it. What do you think? Next, we have another single eyeshadow. I don't know what was going on at the start of the year with single eyeshadows, but oh my god, it keeps going, keeps going. This is Peaches from the Sofx Revolution palette. This was one of those shades, it was beginning to get into the hate pan territory. It really was, because I remember using this and being like, I don't like it. I used this as a blush a few times, which is why the pan looks a little bit strange. I did not want to use this as an eyeshadow. It's not an eyeshadow shade that I love. These like warm pinks, not for me. Give me a cool tone taupe any day. These peachy shades, if it's not a blush, I don't want to use it. My original goal and my original thought was I was just going to use it as a blush all year. And then I kind of remembered I have a Pan That Face palette, so maybe not. I'm not a fan, really not, but I did hit pan on it on the 2nd of March. So we're moving on into March now. We've left February behind and I'm happy that I have pan on it. Would I really want to finish this shade and use it up completely? No. This was the beginning of the end for the Sofx Revolution palette. I think I'd hit pan on all the shades that I genuinely liked and genuinely enjoyed, and then I was kind of like, oh, I have all these other shades that I now have to give my attention to, and I really don't want to. And this was definitely one of them, so yeah, bit of a bittersweet one there. Next, we're back with Bella Pierre All Stars. This is the shade number 9, and that is this brown here. So this, I'm not sure if you can see on camera, this is like scooped, and that is because I used this as a bronzer quite a few times. This has barely any product left in it, I can't lie. This would not take long to completely finish. And I mean, even as I'm saying these things, I'm like, maybe I could use it next year. Maybe I could use it up next year. I need to stop these thoughts because that is what has got me into the mess that I've been in this year. I'm like, maybe, you know what? Maybe I can finish every eyeshadow that I own this year. It won't be that hard. That is why I'm in this mess right now. So I need to stop saying things like that. But maybe sometime in the future, maybe I'll have this done, because this is like scooping. This is like, yeah, this is intense. I hit pan on this on the 4th of March, so only 2 days after Peaches. And again, you will be seeing this again very, very soon. All right, so the next shade, this is the final shade in this little batch. So I'm going to talk about this shade, put all these palettes back, and bring out a bunch more palettes. So the next shade, I hit pan on this on the 7th of March. So again, we've already had 1, 2, 3, 4 pans in the first week of March. The end of the year could never. This is Food Videos from J Star, and I'm hoping you can see the teeny tiniest baby weenie pan in this. I love using this as a pop of color in any look. A bright yellow, I mean, even this look. A bright yellow can go in any look. I have not seen one color story where I've gone, maybe a yellow couldn't go in that. Any color story. A bright yellow fits right in. On the lower lash line, on the inner corner, as a bright, like, graphic liner. I love bright yellows, and this was so much fun to hit pan on. I love this so much, and I don't know, maybe I could finish it one day, but that is going to be a mega goal. All right, I'm going to pop all of these back, and I'm going to be back in about 3 hours when I get all the rest of the palettes, because otherwise my desk is going to be a state, so bear with. Okay, I've got a bunch more palettes. I'm ready to go. The next shade I hit on the 4th of April, so we're moving on up now. And it's from a new palette, which is amazing. This is the NYX Ultimate Jean Baby palette. I love this so much. Blues and taupes need no introduction on my channel. I love them. I would die for them. Mwah. This is the shade I hit pan on. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see the pan. Let me just try and move a little bit of product. There we go. Can you see that? There you go. You can see that there. This is a really nice inner corner shade. It is a white, but it has like flecks of blue in it as well. And I just love it so much. It goes with this color story beautifully. I love wearing all of these shades, just all of them. I adore it so much. When this was in my project Level Up, I had an absolute blast. I loved every single moment of it, but this is obviously the easiest shade that I could have hit pan on, just an inner corner. Shimmers are more malleable as well, so hitting pan on them is going to be a lot easier than hitting pan on a matte. So I decided to go with this one, take the easy route, and that is another eyeshadow pan to talk about, and the first one in this palette. Hopefully there are lots more to come in the future. Next, another new palette. This is the 19th of April, so we're getting further and further apart now. I feel like April was the month where things started to really go awry. So this is the Subculture, and it is the shade Axis here, this last shade right at the end. It's a super beautiful dark teal. I loved using this as a liner. That is how I love this shade. And this was in a Pan Those Eyeshadows project. This is one of 2 eyeshadow pans in this palette, and I am working on Fudge on my Pan Those eyeshadows right now as well, so hopefully we'll have a third one very, very soon. Axis though, I love this so much. I really, really want to play around with it even more. This was one of those shades that I hit pan on and I was like, but I want to use it more. I don't want to let it go yet. But I love it. I love this palette. I did recently speak about this palette in a palettes I could never project pan completely because it is discontinued, RIP, and I can never get it back. And I just love it so much. I don't mind hitting pan on the shades. Finishing them though, I could never. Next we have two more single eyeshadows, which is so exciting, but they are not from the SOFX Revolution this time. So the first one is, let me find this sheet of paper. There is so many eyeshadow names on this sheet of paper, I'm struggling to keep up. The first one is Venus from the Pastel Roses, and as you can see, there is a beautiful pan in here. This is a really nice red to orange duochrome. I was really, really nervous when this rolled into my Pan Those eyeshadows. Like I said before, I'm not really a red person. However, I loved this. This was a real unexpected favourite, and I'm so glad that it rolled in to my Pan Those eyeshadows because look at that now. I'm so happy to have a pan in it. My Pastel Roses shades can sometimes get a little bit neglected, which I always hate. I hate it when things get neglected. I want things to look used. I want things to look loved, especially when things are as beautiful as these shades. So I hit pan on that on the 18th of May. So April only had 2 eyeshadow pans. That is definitely where it started to go downhill. This is May. And also for May, we have another Pastel Roses shade. This is the shade Sunlight. And I remember I actually changed my Pan That palette, kind of. I kept a lot of these SOFX Revolution shades in the palette, but I did change quite a few of them out to different shades that sparked a bit more joy. And that was my attempt to try my best to get inspired by that palette, and this was one of the shades that was in the new remastered SOFX Revolution palette. I loved working on this. This shade, I loved it. It's a yellow with like a green shift to it, and especially with some of the more neutral shades in the SOFX Revolution palette, I loved it so much. However, once I hit pan on it again, it was kind of like it was checked off the list and I had to focus on other shades that I just didn't want to do. So that was my kind of first attempt at getting the SOFX Revolution palette to work for me, but in the end it just didn't. We've got an old friend returning now. So the 24th of May, we've got another Bella Pierre All Stars palette shade. This is the shade number 10 and it is a bronze shimmer. I did wear this quite a lot with this brown and some of the other browns that were in my Pan Those palettes as well, and I really, really enjoyed it. It had a little bit of a copper hint to it, which I really enjoyed, but I was starting to get a little bit burnt out with these neutrals by this point. I'd been working on nothing but neutrals for a very, very long time, and I remember just being like, please God, can I like not work on neutrals anymore? Please. And I think that is another reason why project panning just did not go well for me this year. I spent the first half of the year hate panning pretty much, and then the end of the year came and I was like, I just want to use whatever I want to use. So I'm learning 2025 is going to be very, very different, but that is another massive reason why this year failed so much. I know, not good at all, but I did hit pan on it. Here we go. That is what we look like. Very satisfying. Next, we're moving on to June. I think you can tell that we're getting more and more sporadic now. January was so good, and now it's few and far between. So the 19th of June, I hit pan for a second time on my J-Star shade Hot Fudge. I had hit pan on this before years ago. I used it as a brow shade. I probably couldn't use it as a brow shade anymore. It was back when I was blonde. And then it smashed, so I had to repress it. And here we go, I hit pan on it again on the 19th of June. I really love this shade. Again, like taupes, mwah, chef's kiss. This with some blues, you know me, very, very predictable. I think it's gorgeous. Again, it's something that I can see myself finishing up quite soon. Maybe not like in the next year because I am panning That's Taupe, which will probably clash quite a lot with this. but in the future, I can see myself completely finishing this up. I do kind of want to have a year where I just focus on singles, because the more singles that I get sent, very, very grateful for, it's kind of overwhelming a little bit. So I would like to have a year of just really focusing on my single shades. I think that would be amazing. I don't know how that would happen or how it would work. Let me know some thoughts in the description box, because I think it would be a really, really nice little project. Get a few singles out and get to love them a bit, because they can get a little bit neglected. So Hot Fudge, I'm sure that this will have a lot more use in the future as well, but I hit pan on that on the 19th of June. Also on the 19th of June, what did I say about pairing that with blues? I clearly did that on that day. I hit pan on this shade called Stratus from my Natasha Denona Mini Trio Chrome palette. This I used mostly as a winged eyeliner. This palette was in my Project Level Up for Project Level Up Level 2. So I had to use every shade twice and hit 2 pans in here, which, I mean, spoilers, you can kind of see I did. I struggle to pair this palette together. However, I think a massive reason for that is the way I used to do my makeup is I started with the darker shade and then blended to the lightest shade. I think Natasha Denona works better the other way around. So I need to use this palette again, but I need to start with the lightest and then slowly build up depth. I don't do that. I haven't done that with this palette, and I think that's why I don't like it. The blending wasn't great, and I think it was because I harsh blend almost, and I think it can't deal with that. It should be able to. For Natasha Denona and for the price point, it should definitely be able to, but yeah, it is what it is. So I did end up just using this as a winged eyeliner most days. You can tell the pan is like super, super precise, so that does not surprise me in the slightest. I really, really liked it as a wing though, and I'm sure I'll continue to use it as a wing in the future as well. Next, the 21st of June, which June must be a pretty good month. I must have like got myself going again in June, because I have the It's My Pleasure palette and I hit pan on the shade Sleeper down here. As you can see, it's like a very, very warm tone dark purple. Not really my jam though. I mean, it could have gone somewhere in this look today, I guess. This was one of those shades I had come so close to hitting pan on it, and then I just left it for like a year where it was like so close. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to roll this into a project. I'm finally going to hit pan on it. And I think it took like 2 uses to hit pan on. So I didn't really need to roll it into a project. I could have just used it on its own once or twice. But here we go. I hit pan on it. Very well done me. I'm really glad I did as well, because now this palette looks a little bit less neglected. I do love a palette to look a little bit used and abused. This shade was in a project pan, the shade Pretty Cruel, and would you believe it if I said I used this shade 15 times and it looks unused, really. It's got the tiniest dip in it. Other than that though, pretty unused. But 1 pan for now is pretty good. I'm sure I'll have another pan in this palette very, very soon. Next, on the same day, the 21st of June, was Bella Pierre. June, great month. This was the shade number 12, and I can see this going really, really well with that shade. This is a light pink. I obviously did a purpley pinky look that day and hit pan on this shade. These pinks, not my favorites. Not my favorites at all, but if I'm gonna do a pan that palette in order, I'm gonna have to get through some pinks at some point, so that was my thinking there. Get it used, get it loved. Again, this palette though, it's very like get through it. Just got to get through this next shade, and I think that's probably where I lost motivation for this. But the next shade is the next shade that we're going to talk about, and I hit pan on this on the 25th of June, so only a few days later. I did use these two in conjunction with each other. I used this mainly on the lid, and then this to just blend out the outer corner, and I really don't like these shades. They're not shades that I really like to use. There was a similar shade in the Sofx Revolution palette, and I really, really didn't like it. These super warm shimmer purples, almost like with a red base to them. Not my jam. Not my jam at all. So I just got through this. Again, I really don't want to do that in 2025. I don't want to just think, get through it, you'll be fine. Just keep pushing, because that's not fun for anyone, least of all me. So we're going to put this down and we are going to go back to the mini trio chrome now. This is the shade Aero, I think, in the mini trio chrome, and I use this as an inner corner highlight. So again, you can tell these two shades weren't really used as eyeshadows necessarily. They weren't used to like be blended and like used to create a blended look. Like this was a wing and this was an inner corner. That's how I use them. I didn't use them in any creative ways. I just was like, I know how I want to use them. That's how I'm going to use them. This was the 2nd of July. Shade number 5, inner corner. It did have a little bit of a blue hint, but mainly it was just quite icy. So it could go with a lot of different looks, especially those taupey looks that I really, really loved. I'm pretty sure I was using warm taupe around this point as well, so it would have gone so well with that. And yeah, I'm really glad actually that I do have pans in this palette because it makes me like it a little bit more. And finally, for this little section, before I do another refresh, we do have, she's back, baby, the BeautyBay Book of Magic palette. This is the shade Elixir, and I hit this on the 19th of July. So that is this light blue shade. This was in a Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I remember it so well. I just love this palette. I love this palette so much. Can you tell? Can you possibly tell? Yeah. I know, I love it. This will be a Pan That palette eventually. I've just got to build the courage up because this is discontinued. I can't buy it again, which makes me so sad. But I will eventually get there. I will eventually use this as a Pan That palette. I will eventually use up some of the shades. I think I said in a video recently, I'm just going to use it as a focus palette for 2025. And I'm going to hit pan on all of the shades. That's my goal for 2025. And then hopefully set myself up for success in 2026, which sounds horrendous to say, 2026. No. All right, so let me clear my desk once again. Bring in the final round of palettes. Okay, I seem to have lost an eyeshadow, which is interesting. Right, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but we have lost an eyeshadow, which is, yeah, okay. So, where did I just leave off? We just spoke about Elixir from Book of Magic. So, now we're going to see a lot of this palette over the last part of the year. I decided that I was going to roll this palette into Pan Those Eyeshadows and to be a focus palette, which meant that every month I would pick a shade to hit pan on from this palette, just because it's getting a little bit old and it is one of my absolute favorites. So I knew that I wanted to get some use on it while I still could. The first shade from this palette that was part of my little focus round was this shade, and I fell in love with this shade. This is the shade Ecstasy, and it is a bright chartreuse green, and I use this like every single day. It was so nice. It was right in the summer as well. I hit pan on this on the 7th of August. So perfect time of year. I even got chartreuse nails because I loved this so much. I went through a bit of a phase, and you know what? I loved every minute of it. I paired this with blues, I paired this with neutrals, I paired this with purples, I paired this with everything, and I miss it. I miss her. She's so pretty. I know I'm going to be rolling this into something else, or maybe just like dabbling, you know? I love it so much. Oh, can I say I love it? I love it. You guys, I love it. Next, we have another Bella Pierre shade. This is the shade 14, and this went so well with that shade. I paired this with the shade Ecstasy, that green chartreuse, all the time. They went beautifully together with like a bright blue wing. I remember I did that look and I loved it. I actually did that look, getting a bit morbid here. It was like one of the days after my dog had passed away, and I was like, I'm going to do bright eyeshadow. I'm going to do the brightest eyeshadow I can possibly think of. So I put that chartreuse matte all in the crease, all on the lid. I popped this all over the lid, did a bright blue wing, and I was like feeling myself, you know, I was like, right, that's the pickup that I needed. And this, it was so nice. I really, really did enjoy this. I wasn't expecting to love this shade so much, but I really, really did. And I hit pan on that on the 20th of August. So they're the only two shades I hit pan on in August. We're slowly thinning out once again. So we have a huge jump now from the 20th of August to the 16th of September. Yep, I know. I did go on holiday, fair dues to me, but we are back with Carnival XL Pro, and we're talking about this shade, Fade. So this is just a neutral taupey brownie shade. I wanted to hit pan on this because I'd used this quite a lot for frankening, and it looked really ugly. It was like scraped out, and I was like, I want to hit pan on it. I want to just kind of make it look naturally used instead of like scrape marks in it. Didn't take that long to hit pan on at all. Very, very easy shade to use. You can see, really simple. I did use this a lot with the other kind of neutral shades and also the blues and other blues in my other projects. I love taupe and blue. Have I said that yet? Yes, I have. I need to shut up. Next, oh my god, we're back. Bella Pierre All Stars palette. This is the shade 17 and I hit pan on this on the 19th of September. So let's see what the shade 17 is. It was this blue. So finally we'd moved on to the blues and I had this idea in my head and I thought, right, now that we're onto the blues, this is like plain sailing now. This will be so easy. However, I think it was a bit too little too late just because I just burnt myself out with this palette. By the time I got to the blues, I was like, I'm so done. I don't want to do this anymore. And so, yeah, you can see this is the last pan in this palette. We actually hit 2 more pans, but obviously not in order. Yeah, I really thought that as soon as we'd hit the blues, I'd be absolutely laughing. But no, apparently not, which is kind of sad. But it's the way the project panning goes sometimes, unfortunately. But I did hit pan still, and I'm very happy about that. Next, an old friend. Do you remember this little guy? I hit pan on the shade 7, which is a brow shade. I did use this in my brows every single day to hit pan on it, and it didn't take too long. It is only a tiny, tiny baby pan, but I thought, you know what? This palette is really good quality. I don't support She Glam, but it's still a really nice palette, so I thought, I'm just going to get some use on it. I did have this in my mind to possibly be a Pan That palette next year as well. So I thought the more use I can get on it now, if it is voted in to be Pan That palette next year, it will be a little bit less work next year when I really need to focus on it. However, it was not rolled in, so I just did it for the fun of it. It was like a perfect brow shade though, and I'm really, really happy because I know that if I ever need to finish this, it's not only a perfect eyeshadow shade for me, it's a perfect brow shade as well, and I'm really happy about that. And I don't know if I said, but I did hit pan on that on the 7th of October, so we're flying through the months now. You can tell I was not project panning as much at the end of this year. So now let's move on to a new palette. We have not spoke about this. This is the P. Louise Talk is Cheap Get Up and Grind. And I think this was a hand chosen shade in my Pan Those eyeshadows. I don't know if you can see this teeny tiny pan in this very, very pale shade, but it is a really lovely inner corner blue kind of shade. And I love this so much. This went really, really well with the other shades that I'm panning in my Pan Those eyeshadows, and it didn't take that long to hit pan on. I think you can see it there, maybe. This is definitely one of my most neglected palettes. I really, really don't like neglecting things. I like getting use on it. So when I had the chance to hand choose a new shade for Pan Those eyeshadows, I thought, you know what? Let's give something that hasn't been loved this year a little bit of love, and I decided to go with this one. I hit pan on that on the 11th of October. You know what? October wasn't actually that bad a month. We hit pan on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shades in October. I'll take that. I'll take that. We deserve one good month, okay, at the end of the year. Just one. We deserve one. So that was the second pan of October. Now let's move on to the Carnival XL Pro once again. So this again was one of my focus shades in my Pan Those eyeshadows, and I decided to go with Orchid, which is this blue to purple duochrome shade. Now the shimmers in this palette aren't the best. Like, I'm used to indie, sparkly, jaw-dropping goodness. These aren't that. So I definitely use this palette more for the mattes. However, I enjoyed playing with it. It was fine. It was okay. I used it. Not really one of my favorite shades in the world, but I got another pan on this palette, so I really can't complain. And I hit pan on that on the 16th of October. So slowly getting through to the end of the year. I cannot believe we're nearly at the end of the year. We're nearly at the end of this video. I've been filming for 57 minutes. My voice hurts so bad. Next, 2 shades from the Pierre All Stars palette. These are the last 2 shades that I hit pan on this year from this palette. And I actually hit pan on them in the exact same day. So I'd sat down and I was like, oh my God, I need to film pan that palette in order, but I've not used this palette all month. What am I gonna do? So instead of doing it in order, I looked at some of the shades that were very, very close to having pan on them, and that were these 2 shades here. So a dark purple and like a medium orange. I thought, right, sunset look and pray. Do a sunset look, pray to the makeup gods that I hit pan on at least one of them, and I ended up hitting pan on both of them on the same day. That was the 25th of October. If it wasn't for those pans, I would have nothing to share in that update. I'm very glad I did hit pan on them because that meant I actually had something to talk about. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? But I think that update was the last update for this palette, and I really thought, like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot sit down on the day of pan that palette in order and be like, oh, I've got nothing to talk about. Okay, we're on the home stretch now. We've got 3 more shades to talk about. 3 more. So next, another from the She Glam Chromazone. This was like an underdog this year because I feel like I hadn't used it that much, but it's got 3 new shades. I decided to roll this shade into my rolling project pan. This is a beautiful inner corner shade, and it is like, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know, but this packs a punch. This was so vibrant, so nice. Again, it's one of those shades that if I ever do have this as a pan that palette, I'm not worried about it whatsoever because it is so beautiful. And yeah, I use it as an inner corner every single day until I hit pan on it. So that was the 3rd and final pan in this palette this year. Hopefully I'll have other pans very, very soon. I think I can hit pan in this black quite easily. Maybe this like goldy shimmer shade would be quite fun. Or even this like greeny gold with my That's Taupe. I think that would go really, really well. So we'll see what 2025 brings for this palette. But for right now, we're going to close it and we're going to move on. Next is the shade that I have lost. I don't quite know how. It was my green eyeshadow that I had in my Pan Those Eyeshadows literally just. So it must be around here somewhere. But it was a Revolution shade from the Maxi Reloaded palette, and I did hit pan on that on the 9th of November. That was the only pan I hit in November. Not very good there. Not very good there, but at least I hit one. At least I hit one. And now the grand finale, the 39th eyeshadow that I have hit pan on this year comes from my Modern Renaissance. Look at her. She is ready for retirement. And I mean, inside is no better. Look at that. Finally, I hit pan. I don't know if this counts because technically Realgar did have a pan on it before. However, I did franken it with a few other shades and I've hit pan on it. This took so long. This is the final shade in this palette. It is mocking me every time I open it, but I have finally hit pan on this franken. I'm hoping you can see that there. I'm going to keep using it this month. It is the final month for this palette. After this month, this is going. It's going. I've been panning this palette for 2 years. And I think that's a pretty good grand finale. Oh my goodness me. Here we go. I can't believe we got to the end of this video. But we did. We finally got there. My voice hurts so bad. I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the pans that I hit this year. Which was your favourite and how many pans have you hit this year? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below. But with that being said, this is where I'm going to love you and leave you today, guys. Have an incredible day and I will see you tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye bye.